Welcome, May East. So we are very happy to receive you in the Lille Catholic University, and we are doing now our third video about the future. We spoke about the past, the present, and now we are going to explore the future. What is your vision of the future? And I am very, very interested to speak with you about this, because we just finished to document a big seminar, a big colloquium. How you say colloque?
Colloquium, yes.
Colloquium. About 2100. So it's really the future. And we observe in this colloquium 300 scenarios, and we put it on 2 axes, and then we discover a map of the possible future, how the people in the world see the future, at least the expert. So it is an interesting BIA, because it is mostly a future study person, futurist, what we call in English futurist, who are doing all those scenarios. And it is very interesting that there are hope. So we can speak about this hope, because I think the most important now is to discover possible paths, positive possible paths to a beautiful future, to a true future, to a good future. So how do you see the future?
Amongst all the 300 scenarios that you have projected here, and many other scenarios being projected from the economic, environmental, social, or through the 3 major kind of perspectives, or even added the values perspective, transition needs to happen, or is going to happen. Either we're going to be in the quadrant that we're going to be victims of it, and there will be transition, but we are going to be, oh, we don't know what to do, or we're going to be, playing this shift. I started talking about being a social activist, then a reflexive practitioner. And then the third phase is about being a responsive leader. Responsive in the deep sense of the word, which is responsibility, ability to respond. Because the parameters of the future, as much as we project, we don't know. So we, at the same time that we can project some of the parameters, the other ones we need to have the ability to respond to what's going to come. Is it going to be, how much is technology is going to accelerate, what's going to happen to the climate and all of that. So being a responsive leader, being able to build the cognitive capacities, the competences, and the practical skills to respond to what the future holds is really important. So that's how the present builds towards the future. So what are the skills I needed? What are my intellectual capacities for me to be able to design the transition, not being the victim? So that's the big question that those who are working with Gaia Education are answering right now. Experimenting with these 3 levels of learning how to live in community, learning to be together, learning to learn together, learning to regenerate together. So all these learnings need to be in place for us to chart the future we want.
So it is a good introduction to Actually, Gaia, we don't have spoke so much in the other video about Gaia. And as you say, actually, your tools to face the future is Gaia. It is education. You point there something very important. It is the importance of education to prepare everybody to this transition.
It is fundamental. It's very clear. When we met 10 years after the Earth Summit, where we generated the Agenda 21, and we met in Johannesburg, at that stage we had already the insight, the member states. Local authorities were looking at the Agenda 21 and saying, this is a very good technical document, but how do we implement it? And how to means capacity building, means education. So that's when UNESCO launched the United Nations Decade of Education for Sustainable Development. Gaia Education was born exactly at that point.
How many years ago?
This is 12 years now.
12 years, okay.
So together with that decade, Gaia Education was born out of the experience of the laboratories of sustainability that are the eco-villages. There were many people converging to the eco-village saying, how do we do that? How do I take your principles, your practices into my organization? How do I take this whole systems design into my church? How do I take this dance between the socio-ecological and the values and the worldview into my neighborhood? And we said, okay, so we don't need to be in an eco-village. The world cannot be populated with eco-villages. But what we have been learning here, maybe we can organize and then start offering to the world. And that's been the success story of Gaia Education, coming from the eco-village movement and serving today neighborhoods, slums, vulnerable communities, big cities, smaller villages, kibbutzim, ashrams, with the process of looking at the state of the system that they embedded and saying, how can we design for regeneration in a higher order?
So Gaia is directly connected to the global eco-village network as roots. The roots of Gaia was studying all what happens in those kind of laboratories that are the eco-village in terms of sustainability. How many eco-village did you have been studying?
So Gaia Education was born during 8 years. We had 23 educators from 23 eco-villages meeting under the auspices of Gaia Trust, which is an organization based in Denmark. And we met for 8 years until we created this DNA, which is called the Gaia Mandala. So when we start practicing, first of all, we start practicing in our eco-villages, but very quick. Start growing into beyond the eco-village. So we honor our roots, because if you don't honor your roots, it's like trying to plant cut flowers on the ground. But we went much beyond the eco-village setting. And we still...
That is a real question. Do you think eco-village are the future, or eco-village is just inspiration for the future? It is not the same.
I think eco-villages are part of this patchwork of initiatives coming all over the world, where citizens decide to take the role of designers of the future they want.
Yes.
And this is happening in the context of eco-villages, rural, urban, transition towns, eco-cities.
It is to bring intention.
Yes, bioregionalism, you have different scales, and eco-village is one of the scales. It's a very relevant one, and is all connected. We exchange lots of the experience, but it's one of the scales.
But you are speaking there on a very interesting subject, I think, for the future. It is how actually an ecosystem of innovation, but ecosystem of peoples are lively, how we grow.
I think we have to question the concept of growth, first of all.
Yes, of course. Grow, I mean, not only economically, but socially and sustainable and ecologically.
Yes, so it's course. Like, is it growth what we want, or is regeneration towards whole from system's growth, life?
Yes, our first concept is, do you push for growth or for regeneration? It is not at all the same thing.
Yes, so because I would say
you can grow disrupting everything around.
Yes, well, you can do regenerative development within ecosystem by mimicking, by observing how throughout the centuries or the aeons, living systems in this planet have worked. Self-regulating, responding to change, evolving. So I would say that more than growth, I would say co-evolving, how the social systems can co-evolve with the natural systems in a regenerative way. I think I think it's the equation that is in our hands, co-evolving the two in a regenerative way for the future of humanity, but natural systems, and thinking that we are part of the natural systems as well, that, rethinking Anthropocene and all of that. So this is our future. And it's really thrilling, exciting. We have ahead of us, I mean, we won't see the work that we're doing. What's the impact of the work that we're doing? Right now we're scratching the beginning of a whole, I imagine, a whole revolution in redesigning our human presence in the world.
Thank you very much, May East. And the last question is, do you think the speed of change is enough quick compared to the speed of destruction?
In some parts of the planet, I would say the speed is fine. But in many parts, we are very slow. And I wonder what will be the wake-up calls. Are the hurricanes wake-up calls? Are the tidal, the tsunamis, are these the wake-up calls? What do we need? And we look at, and I study many theories of change. I think it's really important that we study theories of change and test them into reality. What would be, how can we speed the change? And I have different theories, but I think, for instance, in my own life, I never changed because somebody gave me a good advice. Whenever I changed, there was a combination of elements, which was the need and the will to change. And right now, our generation, we have need to change, but many of us are still very comfortable and not seeing, oh, is there a need for change? So the need combined with the will to change, that makes a difference. But if you have need to change and will to change, but you don't have the tools, then it becomes very difficult. So that's why education is really important, because of the tools, when the need is really finally awakened to the whole of humanity, the need is there, the will to change, civil society and governments and private sector coming together, all the sectors coming together. And then the how-to are the tools that your institute and Gaia Education and many other institutes, UNITAR and UNESCO, we're developing the tools where we can acquire now, because I would say no haste, but not lost movement.
Thank you very much. I make a joke yesterday. May I come to the east? And I make a joke with your name. What was the joke?
Well, the joke is that, many people...
May I come to the east?
May I come to the east, yes. Well, many people sometimes call me May West or May East, and although I come from the south and I live in the north, so all directions.
Thank you very much, May. Have a good day.
Thank you.